The world doesn't owe you a single glance, not a second of attention, not 1 ounce of recognition. And that's the best news you'll ever hear. Because once you stop waiting to be seen, you start building yourself into something they can't unsee. Not because you asked, because you became. Let's kill the myth. Being good isn't enough. No one is scanning the crowd hoping to spot untapped potential. They're looking away by default. You have to make their blindness impossible. You don't get noticed by being deserving. You get noticed by being undeniable. Don't plead for eyes. Don't fish for praise. Don't adapt your voice to fit their volume. Become gravitational. There is no fairness in visibility. There is only mass. You must become heavy enough in skill, presence, and certainty that they feel your orbit, whether they want to or not. Most are screaming for attention, begging the algorithm, hoping to be retweeted into relevance. The few who are remembered? Never asked. They moved so precisely that silence had to make space. You don't ask to be seen. You train to be unforgettable. You craft discipline so sharp it cuts through noise. You build consistency so pure it poisons their excuses. You sharpen presence until it interrupts the room. Don't confuse volume with visibility. You can be loud and still overlooked. You can be quiet and impossible to ignore. What matters is weight, density, precision. You don't need hype. You need substance dense enough to bend attention. When you walk into a space, don't aim to impress. Aim to reconfigure the air, not with arrogance, with clarity, with execution, with the quiet fury of someone who knows. Talent is the most overrated myth in the game. People worship it because it sounds like magic, like some people are born with it and others just aren't. Convenient excuse. Easy out. But here's the truth. You don't need to be gifted. You need to be precise. You need to be obsessed. You need to be so locked in on mastery that the idea of talent becomes irrelevant. They don't ignore you because you're untalented. They ignore you because you haven't yet become a force of nature. Not yet. The gifted plateau, the obsessed ascend. You don't have to start with an advantage. You just have to make that irrelevant. This is not about being naturally better. This is about becoming so deliberately sharp that even the talented start looking slow beside you. Every great you admire, they bled for their precision. They weren't lucky. They were consistent. They weren't born for it. They built for it. In silence, in repetition, in obsession. While others post about potential, you're in the trenches refining execution. While they talk about being overlooked, you're becoming too exact to miss. While they chase attention, you're building weight. Your skills must become so refined they feel unfair. Your impact must feel inevitable. Your presence must stop conversations without needing to raise your voice. Everyone starts as forgettable. Everyone. What you do next determines if you stay that way. So don't pray for talent. Don't wait to be gifted. Don't flatter the myth. Get ruthless about getting better. Because mastery doesn't knock. You hunt it down. There's a moment, subtle, invisible, but undeniable, when you stop explaining yourself and start outpacing everything in your way. That moment is execution, not words, not plans, not charisma, just results. Doubt thrives where performance lacks. It multiplies in the space between what you say you are and what you've actually done. So close the gap, make it disappear. You don't owe anyone your potential. You owe them proof. You owe yourself proof. Execution is the only argument that cannot be debated. It doesn't care about your background. It doesn't ask about your circumstances. It simply asks, did you finish? Did you deliver? Did you sharpen until it cut through the noise? The louder the world gets, the more silent power becomes. Because when your work is precise enough, you don't need a voice. Your results whisper through rooms like facts, cold, irrefutable, and final. The discipline to execute, relentlessly, is rarer than genius and more lethal. Most people stop at almost. They decorate the illusion of progress, pretty plans, promising starts, flattering language. But nothing interrupts the culture of excuse like clean final output. So kill the performance. Focus on finish lines. Build a resume made of outcomes, not promises. The people who once doubted you, they won't change their minds. They'll just go quiet. Because the kind of clarity you carry when execution is your default, it doesn't need defense. It is the defense. Your work becomes your presence. Your presence becomes your proof becomes your silence, and your silence becomes unforgettable. You will be invisible before you're undeniable. That's not failure. That's the filtration process. People aren't trained to recognize greatness before it's packaged. They're conditioned to look for signals, followers, features, external validation. If you don't have those yet, they scroll past. Let them measure you by your absence while you build substance. Let them count your silence as irrelevance while you refine your edge. Your quiet phase is not a punishment, it's preparation, it's insulation. A protected zone where you can iterate without interruption, train without distraction, evolve without commentary. Obscurity is a forge, but most people can't survive it. They panic, they pivot, they dilute themselves just to be noticed, and in doing so, they become noise. You're not here to be noise, you're here to build frequency, something rare, exact, unmistakable. And that kind of signal doesn't beg, it resonates. It cuts through over time. So stay in the shadows as long as it takes. That's where your advantage grows. That's where repetition turns into rhythm, and rhythm turns into reality. This is not about waiting, it's about compounding. You are stacking precision while they scroll. You are writing new velocity into your DNA. The world doesn't owe you their eyes, but you owe yourself the discipline to keep going, especially when no one's watching. And when they finally do look back, make sure they're not seeing you at your start. Make sure they're seeing you at such a distance they can't catch up. Good is an entry ticket. It's what gets polite nods, safe rolls, and faint praise, but it never earns immortality. Good is where most people stop. It's the comfort zone of approval. But the unforgettable, they don't play to be liked, they play to be etched into memory. You weren't born to blend in, you were built to disrupt. That disruption is not about being loud or rebellious. It's about being so original in your execution, so relentless in your refinement, that you fracture the mold entirely. Being good means being competent. Being unforgettable means being unignorable. It's not about perfection, it's about density, about depth, about weight. You don't become unforgettable by accident. You engineer it through structure, through design, through repetition that's so focused it looks like obsession to the undisciplined. Architect yourself, not like a brand, like a monument. That means habits that stack, standards that don't bend, a reputation that isn't built on moments, but on momentum. Being good is about not making mistakes. Being unforgettable is about making impact. The former follows rules, the latter rewrites them. People remember precision. They remember consistency. They remember the presence that didn't fade when the applause ended. Build like that. Don't ask how to be viral. Ask how to be inevitable. Your craft is your cathedral. Your character is the foundation. And your discipline is the steel. No shortcuts, no hype, no gimmicks. Just work so powerful, so intentionally designed that even time can't look away. There comes a point where asking becomes insulting to your own potential. Stop waiting to be discovered. Discovery is for the lost. You're not lost. You're under construction. And once the build is complete, they'll have no choice but to adjust. This world rewards presence, not permission. You don't get carved into history by being polite. You etch your name through repetition, obsession, and unshakable clarity. You don't need the spotlight. You become the reason it turns. No more hints. No more polite nods toward your ambition. No more half-declared dreams disguised as self-doubt. You've done the work, or you're doing it. Either way, stop explaining. Start arriving. Let your name become a pattern interruption. Let your results walk into rooms before you do. Let your posture say, I don't need your invitation. I brought inevitability. Presence isn't volume, it's velocity without friction. It's silence that rearranges attention. It's walking in truth so absolute that the world can only watch or lie. Don't post to be seen. Don't speak to be heard. Don't wait to be welcomed. Be so good they can't look away. Not because you're loud, but because your stillness holds weight. And if they can still look away, then keep sharpening. Because when it's real enough, heavy enough, and undeniable enough, they won't look away. They won't blink.